Welcome back to the whole home, to our little kitchen here in the south of England. We are going to take another look at a week of eating in our home and what it looks like to feed our family of five on a budget. If you've watched one of my videos before, hi, welcome back. If this is your first time watching, hi, I am Kezia, and my goal on the internet is to make sustainable, lower footprint living feel less complicated and more budget friendly. Our family budget is £500 for each month. This week's food shop was £120. And aside from what we bought for the week, obviously there's things that rotate through our cupboards that come in that budget. And then we also have flour that we buy probably once a quarter, and we have eggs that come from our ducks. The flour and the duck food still come from within our food budget, but not weekly. We just save a little bit each week, and then those are bigger purchases that we make less often. Our ducks are not quite covering our egg needs, so we have been incubating some of their eggs to raise a few more ducks, and you will see the incubator. It has been in the kitchen. It was in the kitchen through this whole week. So if you see that there, that is what is in the incubator, and they have now hatched. If you want to see the hatch process, this is the 5-day vlog. I didn't know it was going to take 5 days, but that is there. And I will link it below. It is a juggle to make that budget work. That's why I like sharing them, because I think sometimes it can feel like, how do we do this? What does it actually look like to hit a certain budget with certain values through the week? It's not just one £10 meal or one budget-friendly food shop. It all comes together in the way that we actually do it through the week in the kitchen. So that is what we're going to look at. Let's dive into a week being a fly on the wall in our kitchen as we feed our family of five on a budget. Every week of eating in our home starts with a meal plan. Then shopping exactly for that meal plan, putting it up in the kitchen, and that is what we stick to for the week. It helps us stay on track and on budget. So this is the shop for the week, a £120 shop. And we actually started day one budget-wise by just eating through leftovers. I had been sick, so we just ate very simple leftovers for a day, and then moved into day one of actually using this food that we had bought. I woke up to my kids eating oranges in the kitchen, and then we ate chocolate chip sourdough pancakes for breakfast. This is the dark chocolate, the fair trade chocolate from the shop. If we're going to buy chocolate, it's always going to be fair trade. It's one of those things for us where we don't need the ingredient. So if we're going to bring it into our home, we want it done in a way that is careful of how people are treated. On the meal plan for lunch is a simple red lentil and forage nettle soup that is high in protein, so frugal, and we love. We also had some leftover roast veggies, so we pulled those out to make sure we are using everything that comes into our kitchen, which is a huge part of sustainability. And the onions got my eyes very quickly as we chopped those. The soup is just a chopped onion sauteed in a pan in butter or oil. Then we add in split red lentils after giving them a good wash. Add about double the water to the lentils and cook it down, and then add smoked paprika, salt, and pepper. It is high in protein. I'm actually adding a stock cube here, but you really don't need to do that. You can cook it with stock. So many different ways you can make it. It is high in protein and so frugal. Then to get some extra veg in there, we are picking some stinging nettles. These grow everywhere in England, and they're quite easy to identify, so they're a nice, easy forage. They do sting, so I'll either use gloves or just not touch them as I'm cutting them. I'll cut them and put them in the pan with the scissors, but as soon as you cook them down or blend them, the sting disappears. So they are just a vitamin and mineral rich green. It's kind of a nutty green. It's not bitter like dandelion or something like that. They make a really good addition to a soup or a stir fry, and we love them. Spring is finally here, and so we ate lunch outside. My husband works from home, so he joined us, and then the kids remembered that we had these chalk ices in the freezer. They had been on clearance, so I grabbed a few packets and we finished lunch with oranges and chalk ices outside. While my husband made our afternoon coffee, I got some sourdough ready. If If you want to see a week in the life of our sourdough starter, I will link that below. I take a very low maintenance approach. I won't have my life moved around by sourdough, so you can see a full week of how we work just the sourdough starter. But then we had coffee, and we always take a quiet time hour after lunch where the kids, if they're not in school, are quiet in their rooms, and then after that we do some kind of planned snack. So today it was apples and peanut butter. We don't kind of graze snack, but we sometimes will have more of a fourth meal intentionally together in the day. And then on to dinner, which was another frugal family favorite, rice and beans with a simple cabbage slaw. Part of sticking to a budget for us is making sure that the meals that we're planning center around the ingredients that we can get cheaply. So we're looking first at what frugal, nutrient-dense ingredients we can find, and then choosing the meals that work with those ingredients. So we use a lot of pulses and beans and simple grains and things made from scratch as the central part of our meal plan, and then add other things in around it as the budget allows. But that is really where a lot of our meals center as a key to staying on budget. Day 2 started with some sourdough waffles with eggs, sourdough starter, yogurt. We try and make them a bit higher protein and a bit more nutrient dense with a whole grain flour for extra fiber, yogurt in them, a lot of eggs, and then top them with yogurt, nut butters, and things like that. And then after eating breakfast, we threw these loaves that we'd started last night into the oven. Making all of our own bread is a huge way we save money. It takes a little bit of extra prep, but we eat a lot of whole grain sourdough bread as the center of a lot of our meals, and it saves so much money to do it at home. The kids then all wanted a slice before we started school. We do a few days in school and a few days homeschooling at home. And this was a homeschool day. So we had a slice of fresh buttered bread, because what beats that before we started lessons? A huge part of being sustainable with food, I think, is just making sure that nothing is wasted, regardless of what we're buying. Making sure that nothing ends up in landfill is a huge part of sustainability, and also really helps with the budget. So today we had leftover rice and beans, and so we just made a quick extra slaw to go alongside it, and that was lunch. Then dinner, we actually ended up eating at my parents' house spontaneously, but someone was still hungry and just had some cheesy rice when we came home. The third day of eating from this shop was a Saturday, and it was an early football Saturday. I am chopping toast here with my frownies still on. We have rolled out of bed. This is real life, and we're going for a quick and easy toast breakfast, which I think people think of as a breakfast with zero protein in it, but with a whole grain sourdough loaded with the right toppings, nut butters, or some yogurt on the side, it can be not a super high protein breakfast, but not one that is lacking in protein either. So that was our breakfast, along with coffee. And then we always pack extra food when it's a football morning, because they need the energy to get through the matches. So I packed some simple peanut butter and jam sandwiches. We don't go in for packaged snacks because there aren't many times when we actually use snacks through the week. We tend to really lean towards eating meals. And when we do, packaged snacks come with extra packaging that we want to avoid and extra cost. So we'll usually just pack something simple and bring some kind of real food, less snack food item from home. While I prepped lunch on this day, I also got our kombucha going again. We have not been brewing kombucha through the winter. Our house was just too cold to get the fermentation right, and I didn't want to keep it in our laundry closet, so we just let it sit. I used it for vinegar, but we haven't been making kombucha. But with the weather warming up and it being spring, I wanted to get it started. So I brewed a strong tea, added in some sugar, and then this is the SCOBY, the part that works to ferment the sugar in the tea and make this yummy kombucha. So this will not be finished this week, but it's going to sit and ferment on the countertop, and it becomes a really yummy drink that we love. This really was a food prep day. I also threw together some chocolate chip cookies, which will be our main treat for the week, and got a chicken noodle soup going. We love to get a whole chicken and roast it and use every part of it, or as an even more budget-friendly move, we buy chicken carcasses, and these are such a frugal way to make some kind of chicken soup. The girls grabbed the eggs while I cooked this. Today it was 2 eggs. We get about 2 to 3 a day. And chicken carcasses are so much cheaper. They are often discarded and not used, but you can make a ton of nutrient-rich broth from them, and also take the little bits of chicken, which works really well for something like a soup. So this is a family favorite. You can, of course, throw store-bought noodles into chicken noodle soup, but we love making our own. The kids love rolling them out and cutting them and doing this process. It means we eliminate a bit of packaging. We can use organic whole wheat flour, which you can't really find whole wheat noodles in my experience where we are. So this way we just know exactly what's going in the noodles. We have the fun of making them from home. We save a bit of packaging, and it is a little bit cheaper. I just use the pizza cutter to roll them out and then toss them in the soup for a few minutes, and they are perfect. Today, after the kids' quiet time hour, we had grapefruits, which I don't know that they'd ever had a grapefruit before. Some of my kids were more or less keen on them, but they had asked to try them when we looked through the veg box order. So we got them, we tried the grapefruits, and then we also cooked up some cookies, which they had as well. I'm going to be honest, I do not like kneading bread dough, and that is one of my main motivations with making sourdough. I can handle the stretch and folds, but I don't like stopping my day for 10 minutes just to knead dough. But we forgot to prep sourdough ready for pizza night, which is every Saturday night in our house, so we made a quick yeast dough. The kids actually know how to do this, so if I forget to do sourdough, I often just put the kids on the task of making dough, because it is a task I dislike so much. And we spent the afternoon gardening, came back in, the dough had risen, and then we just divide it up, roll it or stretch it into pizzas, and it is just a simple, happy, again, frugal meal. You can top them with whatever you want. You can see our gin and tonic there in the background. That is our Saturday night treat, and we're slicing pizza, eating it, and then we'll eat it with whatever fruit or veg we have from the veg box on the side. After kid pizzas, my husband did kid bedtime, and I'm getting some bagels started. And then it is our date night, and the power went out, and we were worried we weren't going to be able to make pizza, but it all came back on, and we had our grown-up pizza after the kids were down. We love this daily process of going to get the eggs. I love the kids being involved in knowing that there's a story to food before it comes into our home. I think it's something a lot of us don't think about, and I didn't think about for a lot of my life. And growing respect for the animals or the humans that create our food, that grow our food, and knowing that we need to be responsible with how people and planet and animals are treated in that process is really important to me. So that's one of the reasons we have the ducks, is to keep the kids close to that food system and understand learning to respect that. And we love the little process of walking down and getting the eggs in the morning. So we did that, and then we're in to prep the bagels. Again, this is a task the kids love getting involved with. Sometimes I have to find a little patience because they don't look perfect. They're not perfectly round, they're lopsided, but we're getting the kids involved in making the food, and they are always more excited about eating it if they understand and know where it's come from and how it's been made. and it just brings joy and connection, and they are learning to cook, which is really valuable to me. So we are getting a lot of bagels made. Some of those will go in the freezer, but the goal is always to prep once and eat a whole bunch of times. In that spirit, lunch is chicken noodle soup from yesterday, which we just get to heat up, and then we're eating it with cream cheese bagels. A bit of a weird combo, but that's what was on the meal plan. It's what people wanted, and so that is what we are having. After an afternoon treat that was some cookie dough, just the same cookie dough but uncooked, our dinner was pizza bagels and lentils, and then I'm prepping a mac and cheese for when we're hosting tomorrow lunch, some mums and kids before ballet. Pizza bagels, we're just taking that same sauce that we cooked last night, chopping the bagels in half, turning them into mini pizzas. Lentils are what's going on the side as a way to increase the protein of a dish that's not very high in protein. We love lentils as a really simple, frugal side that really packs a protein punch in a nice, frugal, yummy way. After a beautiful weekend, we are back to the Monday grind, but it is light. The sun is here because it is spring, and it makes me so happy. Every Monday, really, we do granola and yogurt and milk. Everyone can grab their own. It's really simple because we have a very early start. Then school lunches with the chicken noodle soup. We cooked it once, we ate 3 times, and that is the goal. After school drops, we finished prepping for the lunch we're hosting today. We're going to do some roasted veg and a sun-dried tomato pesto over lentils with rocket from the garden as more of the adult dish. And then I've got mac and cheese for kids, but obviously everyone can eat whatever they want. And then we're following that with some peanut butter oat bars. My husband can't eat peanuts, so sometimes when we are hosting without him, we will make a dessert with peanuts. And then I've got this store-bought sun-dried tomato pesto. It was on clearance a few weeks ago, so I stocked up, and we are going to pull it out for the sauce on this roast veg and lentil dish. This is one of my favorite foraging times of the year. This is wild garlic, and it has the most amazing garlic smell. So dinner was picking that and adding it to the mac and cheese and lentil leftovers from lunch. We're day 6 and nearly at the end of the week budget-wise, but it is Tuesday because we do our budget Wednesday to Wednesday. It's just what works for our family, and I think having those structures like meal plan and food shopping in a way that works in the week is such a key to actually making budgeting and planning feel possible. So we do a Wednesday to Wednesday. And for breakfast, we had bagels and cream cheese. And then for lunch, we are eating more leftovers. This is things that are prepped and just keep on giving. So this is lunch today for the people who are at home. We cooked up some eggs and then did bagels with eggs, lentils on the side for a nice protein-packed lunch. We had a lot of clubs after school on this day, and I knew the kids would need something to get them through till dinner, and I found this blueberry muffin in the freezer. We have only had a freezer very recently, and it still brings me so much joy to put little bits in there and find them in there later to use. Very simple, but after not having a freezer for nearly 2 years, it is bringing me a ton of joy. And then dinner after clubs was more wild garlic mac and cheese. It is day 7 of the food. Usually on day 6 or 7, I will do a little reassessment of what we have left and see if we need to adjust any of the meals or if we have anything that needs eating, or just look at how we can streamline things to make sure we get as far as we can with the food that we have, or if we rethink, if it doesn't look like we're going to be able to make it through those couple of days, we can rearrange the meals. But this week we were looking good, and we did some more pancakes for breakfast. And then dived again into all those different beans, rice, veg, leftovers and things for lunch. Yes, it might have got a bit boring at this point, but we always just make sure we're eating every single thing we have and not throwing everything away, both for landfill, but also for budget. Our next veg box did arrive on this day, but I didn't open anything but the yogurt because we didn't need it, and I wanted to make sure we used up everything from the previous week before diving into the new stuff. But I used the yogurt to make a really simple chocolate cake. I will link the flexible recipe below, and then I topped it with just some yogurt, honey, and cocoa, which makes a really simple, higher protein frosting, and everyone had that, and we've also got some saved for tomorrow. We actually managed to stretch this food an extra day with leftovers of this and other meals, but our final meal technically on the meal plan for this food was tacos, and this is a family favorite in terms of frugal recipes. We all love this one. We do really simple homemade wraps, again, so frugal. Whole wheat wraps or white, whatever you want to do. We mix it up, and then we've got beans cooked down with some ketchup and smoked paprika and salt, and then a simple slaw and some cheese, and that is where we finish the week. And that's a wrap on another week. If you have any questions, do drop them below. And if you want to keep watching and see how we think about meal planning and food shopping, you can see the food shop that led to this week here. And if you want to see the video of the ducklings hatching, that is how we bring our eggs closer to home and fertilize the beds that grow our food. It's all part of the process for us. You can watch that video here. And I will see you in another video sometime soon. Thanks for joining.